at 5 and not 5:30, right?
Yeah.
There's a camera right here. Be careful with it.
I jump over.
How you
You
doing?
can go around.
If you have some fast question.
Hello, everybody.
Good evening.
We met corner, so we could actually start at 5. When do these have to be done?
I was planning on sending them out to the schools and places.
Oh, okay.
Different schools, different elementary. Normally we do that by that. Yeah.
Raiders. What is it? Raiders?
Almost. No, I thought
Same colors. So.
Cowboy.
Cowboys. Oh yeah, that's right. Blue, like dark blue.
I rotated. Washington. Okay, just go. School district. Yeah. So that's not.
I'll give this here. In the back.
Joe personally left. Okay. Are we gonna? Are someone gonna stay in here so that we can leave our things in here, or?
I wasn't going to, so I was catch up on a couple of things for office. I can lock the room.
Are we sure?
I think they're gonna come in, right?
Nobody's supposed to come in here. I'll lock it.
Safe. Safe.
Because we're streaming live, so nobody, so if they want to watch it, they just watch it. But they're not like coming into it. Makes sense? And the other ones, they attend.
What if they're gonna participate?
That's a good question for Antonio.
What if the public wants to make a public comment?
So for public comment, we send out an email. We also post on social media platforms. So we've got school people who are can email in their public comment, and if we're getting feedback from the community, they didn't have access to email. So they can also text it to a phone number. And so I go through it, this meeting, we won't have anything. But meetings, what I've done is I go through and bring all of them. So I don't know if you remember when we were talking about during those, do it. Or not, I sat here and I read for 5 to 6 minutes.
Right.
Off the book.
Right. Okay.
And we also have a chat feature. Nobody uses it.
On live?
Yeah.
Also, it does have a chat feature.
We can't hear them or see them, but they can chat.
Yeah. I'm gonna put the ones I've done in the back.
Oh.
Does that make sense? Any news from any of the other board members, Dr. Guerrero? Are you expected to make it? I'm sorry, I forgot my phone today, so I can't check. This is the new microphone and it picks up everything. You guys ready? Is the district ready? Jessica, you ready? Any person wishing to address the Board of Trustees regarding a matter that is on the agenda must complete a request to address the Board of Trustees to the recorder before the meeting is called to order. Request to address the board, written or verbal, will not be granted after the meeting has begun. Please call to order at 5:04 p.m.
Alyssa Lapi Santana, Brother President.
Present.
Ernesto Valerio Clerk.
Present.
Jesse Thomas, Board Member. Eddie Velasquez, Board Member.
Here.
Gilbert Lopez, Board Member.
Perfect.
Eddie Guerrero, Superintendent, Present. Fred Molina, Director 2 of Administrative Services.
Present.
Dina Esparza Diaz, Director 2 of Instructional Services. Antonio Aguilar, Administrative Secretary Reporter.
Present.
Jessica Rodriguez, District Communications, Translator, Interpreter, Clerk.
2.0, adoption of the agenda. 2.1, adopt agenda as presented.
Administration recommended to adopt the agenda as presented.
Board members, do we have any comments, questions, or concerns?
No question?
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion made by member Garay and a second by member Velasquez to adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to 3.0 closed session. We will be leaving this room and coming back at 6:30. It is 5:06 p.m. Antonio, do I leave this on? So does it disconnect?
Yeah. Be like,
Well. In there.
So the board is in closed session and they will return at 6:30 PM.
What the hell? What is it?
Oh, that's heavy. Oh, for you.
What is it? Oh, for you?
No, that's for Jesse. You know what? It's gonna be the shirts from the census. Huh? Did you ever get the shirts from the census?
Oh,
You got them cuando salimos al la caja. Teníamos camisas.
yeah, with your wife and family.
Heavy.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I think those are the census shirts. The shirts from the census. administration ready? Any person wishing to address the Board of Trustees regarding a matter that is not on the agenda must complete a request to address the trustees form and submit it to the recorder before the Pledge of Allegiance. Request to address the board, written or verbal, will not be granted after the Pledge of Allegiance has begun. We are back into open session at 6:36 p.m. 4.1, report out of closed session if required. The board took action in closed session to reject the claim for damages referenced in agenda item 3.4. Moving on to 5.0, Pledge of Allegiance. We can all please stand. Mr. Antondo?
Madam President, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving on to 6.0, public comment, administration.
None at this point.
7.0, presentations, performances, and introductions. 7.1, National History Day participant recognition.
Yeah, I would like to take this time to kind of recognize some of our students' excellent academic achievements. Like always, Dr. Renaud does a fabulous job preparing our students for the History Day competition. These are some of the state finalists that we would like to mention their names in lieu of having them present. So for state finalist junior group exhibit, the theme was U.S. female pilots breaking barriers since World War I, and the group consisted of Jacqueline Gonzalez, Montserrat Francisco, John Razaman, Carla Miranda, and Christopher Zavala.
Yay.
And then we had for Kern County Champion Individual Junior Exhibit, Breaking Barriers, Women in Space Exploration, Daniela Arube. Their links to their presentation is on our board agenda, so if you really want to watch it, I highly recommend it. They did an outstanding job.
Thank you. I appreciate the hard work of the Dr. Bernal and the students. I went through them and wow, they were amazing. Good job, kids, to the students. Moving on to 8.0, consent items.
The administration recommends that we adopt the agenda as presented, or the consent agenda as presented.
I will be reading these out loud. 8.1, approve minutes of the regular board meeting on July 28, 2020. 8.2, approve warrant registers 1920-02. 8.3, approve end-of-month payroll report for July 2020, MNB payroll report for August 2020. 8.4, approve agreement number 21-0254 with KCSOS Canvas subscription. 8.5, approve agreement number 21-0300 with KCSOS Canvas training. 8.6, approve agreement number 21-0226 with KCSOS professional development. 8.7, approve KYA proposal for disinfecting machines, proposal number 1-4-20535. And 8.8, approve the interdistrict transfers. Board members, do I have any comments, questions, or concerns? Do I have a motion?
So move, Madam President, to approve.
I have a motion by Member Tondo to approve the consent items. Do I have another motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by member Lopez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to 9.0, 9.1. Certificated personnel, approved job description, employment termination, non-reelection.
Madam Board President, board members, administration recommends to approve the certificated personnel action as noted in your agenda.
Board members, any comments, questions, or concerns? Do I have a motion?
You approve item 9.1.
I have a motion by member Garay to approve 9.1. Do I have a second?
I will second that. Madam President.
I have a second by member Velasquez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to 9.2, classified personnel, approved job descriptions, employment resignation, retirement, leave of absence, change of status, placement, redesignation, salary termination.
Madam Board President, board members, administration recommends to approve the classified personnel action item as noted in your agenda.
Board members, any comments, questions, or concerns?
Can you approve 9.2?
I have a motion made by member Lopez to approve 9.2. Do I have a,
I second the motion.
I have a second by member Garay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Moving on to 10.0, education and instructional administration. 10.1, public hearing, sufficiency of materials hearing. We will open this up. Do we open it up right now at 6:44?
Madam Board President and board members, and members of the public, we have the sufficiency of materials to ensure every student has textbooks for the core curriculum for the 2020 to 2021 school year.
Anyone in the public? We are closing public hearing at 6:46 p.m. 10.2, approve resolution 2021-02 for sufficiency of materials. Board members, any comments, questions, or concerns?
Madam President, no questions?
Do I have a motion?
So move, Madam President.
I have a motion by member Atondo to approve 10.2. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by member Lopez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Moving on to 11.0, business administration. 11.1, approve the 45-day budget revision. Administration.
This is the 45-day budget revision. If there's major changes to the budget after it's adopted due to the budget bill or trailer bills, we like to present that new information to you. Just go to the next slide. So originally, as we had we built our budget off of the May revise, and the governor at that time was talking about a lot of cuts to education, to the amount of 10%. With the legislator and then debating back and forth, towards the end of June, they passed a bill that basically was no cuts, but in lieu of cuts is deferrals, and there's also no COLA. So in looking at it, you can see that the budget we adopted on the 2021 in June, and what we have for the revision. We're going to go on the next slides in a little bit that will talk about what each of these components are made up of. But you can see under the LCFF sources, we're getting about $2.4 million. What that is, since there is no COLA this year, it's effectively the cut, keeping us whole at the same funding level as 1920. So we get the same per pupil amount, but we have had a reduction in ADA. So the total amount of revenue we've seen from LCFF sources is going to be lower this year. And then we have some federal revenue, an additional $3 million. In the original budget, we did know about the ESSER funds, but there was also some learning loss mitigation funds and other dollars that came to us that we had to add to the budget. And then some other state revenue is also part of the CARES Act, and there were some changes to our local revenue as well, for the total amount of $5.8 billion. And the next slide. And so for the LCFF sources, this is the net amount of no cuts, no COLA, and ADA decline. You can see our 1920 funded ADA is 2891. That is actually our 1890 annual ADA. And then the 2021 funded ADA is based off of our 1920 D2, which was 2823. You can see there. The next slide. And our federal revenue, the carryover in Title I and Title III changed. Title I slightly, Title III about $115,000. It was reduced by that fact because we found another way to utilize those dollars and soak up some of the substantial carryover that we had. And then the resource 5640 should have not been added in the original budget. It's the ending fund balance. We didn't lose that money. It's still there. It just shouldn't be counted as revenue because we've already earned that money in the past. And then you can see there from the learning loss mitigation funds, it's actually separated into like 3 different pots. And there's 2 pots right there. You can see those total dollars. And then on the next slide. Then we have for our other state revenue, ACES, our after school program, was supposed to be cut in this year. And they said that they were going to make us whole, no cuts. And then also too, they extended the spending deadline for last year from June to December. And we had about $63,000 that we had not spent yet. And so that money was added into the budget with the trailer bill. And then again, this was the same situation as the 5640. These were a couple of block grants that we didn't lose that money. It just shouldn't be counted again as revenue. We still have that cash on hand that we're going to spend. And then the other part of the learning loss mitigation funds is the resource 7420. You can see the 200,000 right there. The total amount of changes in our other state revenue is about 415,000. The next slide. And then the other local revenue, originally the budget at the May revise, the governor was pushing for increase in the ADA amount for spend to 645. The legislature came back and they made an agreement that some of that money would be allocated under spend to different sources or different purposes. So the total amount that we're going to actually receive is 625 at our P2 number that we showed earlier. That's the revenue reduction that we received because of that change. And then the NEOP, this was just, this is on a federal year program from October to September, and that 35,000 is not actually lost money. It's still money we're going to receive, but it's actually going to be in the following school year in 2021 as part of that federal program. And the total amount of all of those you can see is that 5.8 million number that we discussed previously. The next slide. And looking here, these are our COVID-19 related resources. The ESSER funds that we spoke about, those were from the CARES Act directly allocated to the school sites. And then the learning loss mitigation funds is actually in 3 different portions. There's the resource 3215, the resource 3220, the resource 7420. And those right there are the learning loss mitigation funds. Those acronyms are a manner in which it was allocated to the districts. That is how they decided how much money we would get, but the purpose of the funds is not restricted to those populations. You can see SWD, students with disabilities, SNC, which is supplemental concentration grant funding recipients and the like. You can also see here that the start spending date for these is in March for those federal funds. Some of it is March 13th, some of it is March 1st. The SB 117 monies right there are actually from the state. Those are CARES Act. When the federal government was passing the CARES Act, the state did their own type of stimulus to help us in that type of need. We started using some of those funds, but then we later got our learning loss mitigation funds. So we moved all the expenses to those 2 sources. Then you can see here, the amount spent is about $750,000 and encumbered for the resource 3220, and we have spent all of the 7420 so far. So currently, Dr. Guerrero and myself are making a plan, and obviously we have a shortened time frame for some of these funds. About 3.4 million of it needs to be spent in a very expedited fashion. Currently, the local county, as well as many school organizations, have written letters to the federal government requesting for an extension of those funds. These funds were actually dollars that were sent to the states to utilize for their coronavirus response. California is one of the few states that redirected that towards schools. And so they're asking for an extension through June 30th of the following year, because it just makes more sense for us. But right now, we're currently utilizing and working on ways to extend those funds. And next slide. And as we talked about, there's deferrals that are coming in lieu of cash cuts. And you can see here that those are going to be taking place in February, March, April, May, and June. Normally, we're on a 5-5-9 plan where we get 5% of our funding in July and August, and then 9% throughout the rest of the year. And then there is a balance where basically everything is trued up at the end with our ADA and the like in June. So you can see that the amount of the proportion is being deferred each month. So in February, it's 45% of our total allocation that we normally receive. We would normally get 9% of the total revenue for the year. Instead, we're going to be getting 5% that month. And then you can see in the following months, it'll actually be only 3% of what we're supposed to receive. And that would be a 70% that is deferred. And you can see here on the next slide. So the total amount is going to be about 32% of our budget. And you can see here, February is being deferred to November, March to October, April, September, May, August, and then June to July. And we also had a deferral this year, 1920, where our apportionment for June was pushed back, I believe it was about 15 days for this current year. So you can see that what we're trying to plan to do is utilize our federal dollars appropriately to mitigate as much of the learning loss as we can, and also try to true ourselves up to prepare for this inevitable situation and manage our cash flows appropriately. We're working with the county office. They're getting a pool together, a trans pool, which is a revenue anticipation note. And what we're going to be doing, unless the federal government steps in and provides more stimulus, which the state would not take this route if they're able to, we're going to be looking to take out a loan. And I also have seen some recent emails about a statewide trans pool that the state is putting together. So whatever is most beneficial for us or the lowest interest rate, but by pulling together with these groups of schools, it'll be more beneficial for us as well. And that is pretty much it for the 45-day budget revise. Did you have any questions?
No questions.
I'm good.
Mr. Garay?
Okay, this 45-day period is from where to where?
July 1st. It's basically just stating that because we go off of, we get the governor's budget in January, and he says, this is my plan, this is what I want to do, this is how I'm spending money, this is what they did the budget for the year, and we're planning for next year. Then in May, as we get closer to the year starting, he does a May revise where he advises this is the situation and how it looks now, and this is what we're planning on doing. In January, our state actually had $1 billion surplus. We had extra money this year, and then the pandemic happened and everything tanked down. And so you see the May revise where in January, where there's a ton of extra money coming into the budget, the May revise was drastic reductions to the tune of about $55 billion. And so he kind of planned for how he wanted to handle that situation with cuts to services and going through that. Legislator had a different plan, wanting to rely on the federal government, and they decided to push forth a budget that had no cuts. In the end, what we got is no COLA with no cuts, but we have deferrals. And so effectively, what the deferrals mean is that on our books, the state says, hey, you're going to say that you got paid and received this, but we're going to give you the February money in November. And so we just have to plan for that accordingly.
Thank you.
Board members, any other comments, questions? Yes.
None at this point, Madam President.
Thank you.
We need a motion so that you can approve it.
So board members, do I have a motion for 11.1?
The motion to approve.
Item 11.1.
I have a motion by member Garay to approve 11.1. Do I have a second?
Second, Madam President.
I have a second by member Tondo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Moving on to 11.2. CFW update.
These were some CFW presentations, and you said you wanted some copies of. I don't know if it's attached.
It's not attached. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Oh, thank you. So the Excel type document that you're seeing, that's also in the presentation, but you have it separately if you just want to look at it in the table form. I had to kind of chop it up in the presentation because it doesn't fit on all of this.
This was gonna hurt.
Okay, so far. And so I went through our tax spending and our invoices and tried to put together all the information in a coherent fashion. So I hope it's clearly and easily able to. And so this right here is this is the total amount that we've spent each year. The first line is CFW, and then the bottom lines are the amounts that can be directly attributed to school projects that we're working on. So we have two types of projects. We have a full day kindergarten grant program project, and then we basically have what we're calling a non-full day kindergarten grant project. And so those are the totals for each year. And go to the next slide. This is the grand total, the CFW amount that we spent since we started with them. I believe it was in October 2018. We spent $830,000. The total amount of the Alec Calante's project so far that we've worked on is $345,000. Lamont is about $670,000, and Myrtle is about $125,000. On the CFW related, those are dollar amounts that are paid to CFW that can be directly attributed to those school sites. There is a one line item because how they were billing us, it was just all clumped together and it wasn't allocated based on the school site. Once we got the kindergarten grants, they started separating that by program, the kindergarten and the non-kindergarten, as well as high school site. So there's one line item that you can take note of that may be kind of added to those numbers for the school site. And so for here, for 18-19, they came and did a facilities assessment. That was the total amount that we paid towards that. And they also began assisting the district in establishing the academy program, where each school operates under their own kind of academy type structure. The total amount we spent in 18-19 was about $107,000. Next slide. You can see here, these are our 19-20 expenses. So disclosures and reporting, they file certain reports for us on our bonds or on our leases or on our programs that we're taking care of. Assist the district in establishing the academy program. That process is carried forward. For July through June, we spent $70,000 on that. As they help us with our facilities funding, and they receive monies under the grant programs. According to the contract, there's a 2% commission, is basically what I'm calling it. You can see that Lamont, that $615,000 is some of the design money that we've been front loaded as part of our full day kindergarten grant program. And then the same for Alicante, about $850,000, 2% went to them on each of those. And then when we get the rest of the money according to those agreements, then they would get 2% of whatever that remaining balance is. And then looking at assisting the district in pre-construction and construction phase of proposed projects, from February 19 to February 2020, we spent $260,000. And so that is the line item I was talking about where it wasn't broken up by program or by school. So theoretically, on each of the school sites, you could add $85,000 to those numbers if you divide it up between the three schools. And then you can see here, assisting, after that time period, they started breaking it apart. That second to the bottom one right there is the non-kindergarten grants. We spent about 83,000, and then assisting with the kindergarten grants is about 150,000, total about 600,000 for the year. And so this is for 2021. We just started the school year. There's been a couple of months. Assisting the district in establishing the program for July and August was $5,000. The August was $0 because it was frozen due to COVID-19. So what we've been paying the most recent months is $5,000 per month for that service. And then the non-kindergarten grants, we spent $41,000, and the kindergarten grants $76,000 this year, total of $125,000. Go to the next slide. And this right here is the Alicante for 1920. All the school sites didn't have any spending specifically to them for 1819. But for 1920, Alicante, you see the 2% commission, you see the amount paid to CFW on the kindergarten grant projects and the amount on the non-kindergarten grant projects. And then, these are other vendors that we have utilized to start our process of the kindergarten grants. So CT South, Rincon Consultants, Yellow Construction, DSI, and IBI Group. And I tried to tease out the percentage that we paid so far on each of those services. As they bill us, they pay for certain percentages through time until it's at 100%. You can see here for IBI Group, our architect, there's a long list of things they're going to be doing, but the concept and schematic drawings and the design development drawings are 50%, the other two at 100%. The total amount in 1920 that is spent at Alicante was $275. The total amount that's attributed to CFW is $100,000 at that school site for that year. Next slide.
Mr. Fedro, you add those together or the
The two
100,000?
bottom, that's separate. So the
They're two
total
separate
amount that we
ones.
spent, if you go to the previous slide, Antonio. So these right here equal 100,000, and they're also included in that total. So 275 is the total amount that's been at the school, and the amount that can be attributed out of this 275 to CFW is 100,000. So it doesn't increase to 375, it's only up to 275.
It's part of it, okay. Thank you.
2021, we spent about 40,000, 30,000 on kindergarten grant projects, 11,000 on the non. Go to the next slide. And these are some more services that we have completed thus far. And the total amount you can see there, we spent 70,000. Of that 70,000, 40,000 is on the CFW, 30,000 is on to the other. This is again just to highlight that first page that we have. These are the Alicante totals, the total amount of the project, the total amount that's been related to CFW. Recall that $260,000 line there wasn't broken up on the invoices in the past until they started separating by the programs and by the school. So you could, I'm just speculating here, the 140, you can add 85,000 if we evenly distribute that to all three schools. And go to the next slide, please. So for 1920, we have a similar situation, the commission, the kindergarten grant, the non-kindergarten grant, those are the amounts that we've spent on each of those portions of the project. Next slide. And then again, we have the different vendors that we have started completing the services with. And this is our architect. There's 2 increments that they're proceeding on. Again, a long list of things that they're doing for us. This is part of the design phase. Some of the portions of the work have been 100% completed. And so far we spent 275 with them. The total amount for 1920 of Lamont has been 585. Of that, related total is 120 for CFW. And then 2021, again, CFW, kindergarten and non-kindergarten grant projects. And we've also spent some more money with our contractor as well as our architect. The total amount we spent so far this year in the first 2 months is 82,000. About 50,000 is attributed directly to CFW. Next slide. Again, these are the Lamont totals, just highlighting the total amount that we spent on the Lamont project and those that are related to CFW. Again, if we added the 85,000 of those $260,000 costs, I was right, be about 250, 260,000 that CFW took. And then Myrtle has recently started the process of preparing to get in line for the pot of money whenever it's replenished, and we're able to continue with that process. That's the funds that we had set aside previously. You can see here that we've spent 45,000 at Myrtle in 1920, and we've also started some of the process there on a very small scale at the CT's Office of Soil Testing, and I got an architect involved. You can see for 1920, we spent 70,000 at Myrtle, 45,000 of that attributed to CFW. Next slide. And then this year so far, CFW for 2 months, non-kindergarten related, because we don't have a kindergarten grant program operational at Myrtle. And then also some more surveying and soils testing that we've completed. The total amount this year we spent at Myrtle is 55,000, about 22,000 attributed to CFW. And on the next slide, you will see that should say total Lamont projects. I had a typo there for my copy and paste. The total spent on Myrtle so far is 125. About half of that is attributable to CFW. And go to the next slide. Oh, there is one. Okay. No, okay. And that is everything. Did you have any questions?
The part that's related to CFW, is that part of their 2% commission, or is that an add-on to their 2% commission? Is it an add-on?
Also, we've gotten, I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood about $680,000 from the state for the kindergarten grants. That some of this money's coming, that we're paying these vendors and or CFW. That's one of them, and then we got a similar amount. I can't remember the other one exactly, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood as well for the 2 kindergarten grants. So we didn't tease that out, but we can tease it out and say, okay, this is how much the state's given us as of today, and this is how much has been spent.
You can see that on those for Lamont and Alicante. The 2% commission, the number in parentheses is the amount of money we received from the state for our design portion of the project.
Okay.
So those are the kindergarten grants, and
Yeah, so if you go, so you can see it right here. So we've so far received 615,000 in design funds. So they front load us with that money. I was looking for the documents that had the total amount of funding that we received from Fund 35, but I couldn't find it in my email as I was ready to finalize this. But that's the amount we received for Lamont, and that's the amount for Alicante, about 850 upfront. The total amount that we're going to receive, I believe, is a ballpark of 15 million across both projects. So the funding sources for the vendors that are not CFW is Bin Fund 35, which is our facilities project. That money goes directly into there. So the total amount that we have from them was about 1.5 million, and we also contributed that 365,000 ourselves. That was a finding as part of our application, and so we have all that money in funds out of the LCAP, out of our 21st century classroom action.
Anybody have any questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 11.3, food service department update. Good evening.
Now today we have, first of all, we've become aware of some concerns that surfaced on social media in regards to what we're serving. So in my presentation, I'm going to speak to you about our regulations and speak to you about where revenue comes from. And we've also looked at some samples of some food for you tonight to sample. Today we served a chili rack, and that's what we have for you. And we cooked it okay. So we want to be able to have you see what we're serving, taste what we're serving, and just briefly, I'm going to describe to you what's in the box. So we have chili mac, like I said, and that is made with whole grain pasta and beef. Thanks. Also, we have a whole grain pancake sausage stick that we cut in half. So be careful with I'm going to have a stick in it. Just letting you know to just be aware of that and observe of that. Also, too, we have a sample of cheese pizza. It's individually wrapped. Also, we have a breakfast. We have two breakfast items, two lunch items. So the breakfast item is the whole grain beef and sausage biscuit, and also the pancake sausage stick, as I mentioned, the chili mac and so I'll let you enjoy that. And I'll start my presentation. Okay, while my presentation is being loaded on the screen, I just want to introduce who I have with me today. I was going to bring them up right after the presentation, but because they have some things to say to you as well. I have my Lamont School, Maria V. Bruno, and I also have brought with me our food service project manager, Angie Rose. So those are the two I brought with me, and you'll be hearing from both of them. And also to our lead, Frances Morales. She's our lead cook for Myrtle Avenue. She will be speaking as well. I'm not sure who else was on, but that's who I know. Okay, so we'll be hearing from them later, and I'll go ahead and get started. It's time for my presentation. Thank you. So the introduction, Lamont School District participates in the school breakfast program. We also participate in the lunch, the National School Lunch Program, and as well as the after-school program and supper programs. The food served to our students is mandated by USDA guidelines and based on the implementation of the meal pattern. So I'm not going to go into a lot about the meal pattern because I'm going to talk about it as we go forward. But there is a new meal pattern, but it's not so new because it's already been around for over 5 years. But for those of you that don't know, that there is a new meal pattern that started back in 2010 is a Healthy Younger Kids Free Act. And I don't want to jump ahead because someone is going to speak on that a little bit more. But that's where the new meal pattern came from. That's where everything changed from. How we used to serve the peach crisps or the peach powders and all those wonderful things that we remember as kids back when we were in school. You know, we got the beans, we got the potatoes, we got a lot of those good filling foods. But what they found out as time went on is our children were becoming very obese. So they made the meal pattern to be more healthy for the students. Okay, there are caloric ranges for breakfast. So we service the school of kindergarten to 8th grade primarily. And the breakfast could be no more than, has to be between 400 and 500 calories. And this is on average over a week. We have to meet those standards. And we meet those standards. I have a program called NutriKids that allows me to be able to plug in the menus and let me know if I'm on target with meeting the calories for the week. So our school breakfast meal pattern for grades K through 8 consists of 3 things. It consists of a whole grain item. Okay, that could be a muffin, it could be a crumb cake, it could be mini pancakes, French toast. It could be lots of different things in your meal box that you have right there. The whole grain item is the pancake sausage on a stick, and it also is the sausage biscuit. Now the other item that we have to serve is a cup of fruit. So we serve 2 different types of fruit in our breakfast and milk. So basically whole grain, bread, fruit, and milk. Where there's some flexibility in this is that we can serve a meat or meat alternative, excuse me, such as yogurt, or in your food item there, there's a sausage. There's no pork, that's either beef or chicken, because that is low in fat. Our meals have no trans fats and very, very low saturated fat eating. So what you're eating is very heart healthy. And next slide, please. And then this is just a picture that I know you've seen before, that I said, this is our grab and go breakfast and hot lunch. And what we have here is, we have a breakfast taco, which is a whole grain flour tortilla with egg, cheese, and either ham or turkey sausage. That is what we have on here for breakfast. We have a treetop apple crisp, a fresh apple, and a milk. So you see, we're meeting our requirements for serving the 1 cup of fruit and the whole grain. And then down here for our lunch, it's shown we have a breaded chicken burger, we have broccoli and carrots, 3/4 cup, fresh fruit, 1/2 cup, and we have a non-fat chocolate milk. The only thing I didn't list was the condiment on there. But we also serve condiments, right? Just like you go to any other place, you want to have condiments, something to spruce up the taste on the item. So we do serve condiments. We serve things like tapatio, or of course, ketchup, mustard, and also
Tahini.
thank you. Who said that? All right, she knows. Thank you. And President Tahini. Next slide, please. Okay. Our lunch meal pattern for K through 8th grades. We are required to keep the calories from 600 to 650 calories. That is also to an average over a week. So we may have one day that's 600, one day that's a little bit less than that, one day that's over the 650, but on the average, it has to meet that caloric calorie range. And once again, I plug that into 96 programs, and that's what keeps us on target. Also, too, for lunch, as we noted, there's a 1/2 cup of fruit on the meal pattern, vegetables anywhere from a 1/2 cup to 3/4 of a cup. That depends on the vegetable subgroups. What are the vegetable subgroups? Vegetable subgroups were designed as part of this new meal pattern. This is what we have to offer on the menu every week. We have to have a dark green vegetable, right? Such as a romaine lettuce or green beans or something like that. So a dark green vegetable, a red or orange vegetable, beans and peas, or beans or peas, a starchy vegetable, and other vegetable. So these are the items that have to be, should be offered every week. The starch, where we used to, before the new meal pattern, used to see more starchy vegetables on the menu, mashed potatoes, French fries, all this was in the same week. We can only serve starch once a week. And previous administrative review we went on a couple of years ago, I learned something that jicama is considered a starch, according to the vegetable subgroup. So jicama is considered a starch. So we can only serve those starch vegetables only once a week. Red orange vegetables, we try and cater to the kids, right? Because kids really don't like a lot of vegetables. So we try and do like a chili on carrot or some sort of baby carrots and make some little broccoli and things like that, so we can meet our requirements. The grains are 8 to 10 weekly, meeting on a day. Like when we serve a hamburger or chicken burger, that counts as 2 grains. So over a week, we should be like anywhere from 2 to 1, so that we can make our average of 8 to 10 weeks on the grain beds. The meat and meat alternates, 9 to 10 weekly. For instance, what constitutes as 1 or 2 meat alternates would be like what constitutes of a hamburger patty or a chicken patty. A meat alternate that constitutes as 1 meat would be like, a meat alternate would be like some RCs or shrimp cheese. So we have to have at least 9 to 10 on average for the week in our menus. And then of course our milk choices, we have to offer 1% white or non-fat chocolate. Currently we're offering 1% white for breakfast and non-fat chocolate for lunch. Next slide, please. The breakfast and lunch meals served. Daily, we provide a frozen or shelf-stable nutritious breakfast for the next day. We're serving various love and whole grain items such as cereal, sausage, biscuit, breakfast, rich, and steak, and breakfast burritos. Also, we're serving various types of nutritious lunches on our menu, such as sandwiches, both high bowl, a grilled cheese sandwich, or a turkey sandwich. We serve tamales are on our menu, burritos, pizza, chicken, fajitas, chili beans, corn dogs, burgers, and spaghetti. So we're offering quite a variety of items on our menu. Where it comes from, so Lamont Elementary School District receives our fair share of commodities from USDA, United States Department of Agriculture. Our commodity fair share to their standards of commodities labeling and product, such as chicken patties, beef patties, chicken strips, and breakfast. School District Food Service Department is part of a co-op called BIMO, where this is also where we get our food from. We get the best price as being part of the co-op. We get buying power. So we have our current directors. Current directors meeting where we discuss various topics. Serving, who's going to be a little bit more, who's serving more, who actually cooking in the kitchen, and who's serving a little bit less than that. But at the from the most part, all of us are serving the exact type of mix. Next slide, please. Food services. So we're mandated by county health inspections. Lamont Elementary School District Food Service Department is committed to serving safe and healthy meals. CDE, California Department of Education, requires the school food authorities to be inspected twice a year. Lamont Elementary School District foods continue to maintain our letter A grade, given by the Kern County Environmental Health Department. But what I would like to say about this letter A grade, this letter A grade is the highest grade any restaurant, any food establishment can get. This letter A grade also lets me know that my staff not only have their training or certificate, but they care about upholding good food safety standards and they care about the action for it. So that shows twice a year that we have been able to maintain a letter A grade for the past 5+ years that I've been here and prior to that as well. Also, all the cooks, as I mentioned, and cooks are certificated, and myself and Ms. Angie. We are also certificated with a certificate certificate. So what that simply means is that we, all of us are in leadership, train others on food safety protocols, our standard operating procedures, making sure that we are operating our kitchens in the best possible way, following the guidelines set by CDC, following the guidelines set by health department. And this is something we have successfully done, and kudos to my staff as well. But I'm school district service department is reviewed and audited by CDC every 2 years, and we have successfully passed our reviews. Okay, now that I've talked all about what the requirements are for the meal pattern, now here comes the curveball. USDA has some good flexibilities for us. We'll talk about these COVID-19 nationwide waivers. This year, school food authorities have faced unprecedented challenges administering the ESD, the school nutrition program, during the COVID-19 national pandemic. These challenges have impacted the program's operation in many ways. There are several COVID-19 related waivers that the USDA released, which extend through June 30th, 2021. The waivers that we have applied for are as follows. So we have a nationwide waiver to allow non-congregate feeding and the child nutrition program. that applies to all of our programs. That also allows us to set up our grab and go sites, our walk up sites. It allows us to have this non-congregate feeding as students are distance learning. Also, nationwide waiver to allow mealtime flexibility in our programs. We really need that, right? So the mealtime to be able to get that breakfast not that good because of our struggle, that's right, that we need to work with the education side of it. So we offer meals between 11 and 1 o'clock. Once the kids have lunch break, they're able to go to any other sites and pick up a meal. Also, the nationwide waiver to allow meal pattern flexibility in childhood program. This is also waiver applies to all of our programs. We are approved to provide meals that do not, that's supposed to be a T or something like that, that do not meet the meal pattern requirements for the meal pattern. And why is that? That is because of that is because of the meal pattern flexibility is due to okay, I can find I don't know down this please or something good. But the meal pattern flexibility is due to us being able to get certain products from certain companies to provide, for instance, the wildfires. The wildfires have really put a hurting on a lot of crop as far as the fresh produce and things like that. We get reports that are sent to me, and I get our fruits and vegetables in the Canada that the prices are being driven up because of those type of things. So when there's a break in the supply, then the demand becomes high and it drives up the price and things like that. So they understand and they know this and that we have operational challenges. So they have set in these meal pattern flexibility, allowing us to, we can't get a meal, or we can't get enough milk, or we can't get enough vegetables, or whatever it is, this covers it and it allows us to still be compliant, even though we don't have vegetable on that day or something. Next slide. This is versus providing our children in the community access to sound nutrition and safe meals. That continues to remain stable. All these findings to continue to know that certain questions. And I have to remind myself because it's so much change. So many possibilities and so many things happen in the world. As a practitioner here, we must remain flexible so that we don't get bent out of shape. And I often say that a lot to myself, I mention it to my staff because we are dealing with a lot of changes and a lot of things that happen. And I would now like to, before I call up my cooks, I'm going to read a statement from our lead coach from Lamont. Excuse me, from Lamont. My name is Rosa Adami. I have been a leader for 15 years. I'm proud to be a part of our department and our meal preparations and distribution. Our meals are designed to fit the lives of our students. We try to provide food that the students may like, but also we have to comply with state regulations. Now, I'm going to go ahead and call up Debbie. She's for I'm sorry.
So my point now is that everyone has a different base. Like when I'm moving from scratch, we have more control over the pace when adding a new material. And of course, I enjoy it. So when you start from scratch by adding a one season material, it's like influx. When the number one year is for the scale, it's a good. It's made out of scratch, and you have a little bit extra. But COVID-19 pandemic, now our district has to adjust with the new distance learning. We did adapt until our community right. Now we have to try that. And there is system one, we're very much question, very flexible, in which certain stuff the country that okay, we added up, it can happen, we distribute later, we find out, take it to the distribution. Take it to the and then before that, we don't have any control on the manufacturing goods that we receive on what we can really put out of scratch. So unfortunately, we have to get that in order to go through. We have to make adjust and changes to whatever we do. And we will try
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. We have Dr. Francis Morales. She's already put over Merle.
We can hear you, Francis. No. You just hear your mic. Okay, here we go. Yes.
I think the district for police service. It looks like it's in front of that solid guidelines, which are more nutritional menu. Support by people education. We take pride in feeding students with this concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Francis. We're also now going to hear from Angela Rosa.
Okay. I don't have a lot of words. I've worked here for over 20 plus years, and it's so unfortunate that our program is being displayed on social media in such a negative way. Our program is always being challenged, and I know our staff takes pride in serving the meals. I've seen changes from when I first started cooking, baking, to now where everything's pre-wrapped. From going through all the state regulations and changes in the meal pattern, from substituting applesauce in a recipe for sugar, from making adults want breakfast. All that has to stop because we started breakfast in the classroom. Then as the trend is changing, our students are going more for
prepackaged items versus cooking meals, with the exception of portfolio. Portfolio is always our highest number. In 2010, Michelle Obama brought in the Healthy Hunger Kids Free Act, and as a result of that, she changed the meal pattern, implementing more fresh fruits and vegetables, and the reduction of sodium and sugar. So that reduction of sodium makes a huge difference in the meals, especially in the cooked meals. And with all these changes, not only we have to make changes, but our manufacturers have to make all these changes. They have to also stay on top of the meal pattern and put changes in the regulations. And at the end of the day, we are here to serve our students. And with all this, I really urge our parents to call our office if they have any concerns. If Dolores is not available, I'm available. I speak both languages. So, I mean, there shouldn't be no, or trained staff at their sites. Basically, that's it.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Maria, and thank you, Francis. Board members, are there any questions that you have for me?
I think I like that Mac. That was really good.
Which one?
The Mac.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
Real tasty. Had a
Yeah,
lot of flavor.
okay.
Yeah, that was really good.
Was it dessert?
Sorry. No room on the tray.
I don't have a question, but I do want to thank you for your hard work and service. I know that under all these regulations, it's really hard. And, it's really hard to, especially right now with the everything changed. And you guys have been out there. You guys are probably the ones that have more contact visually with our students that we miss so much on campus. So thank you for that. Thank you for the information. I hope that parents out there are watching and they understand maybe a little bit more where you're coming from, what you have to do.
Yes.
I would wish you guys could step out of your box just a little bit. Maybe, I don't know if it's leaving Pinko and maybe going to another co-op that might have some other varieties.
Okay, so Pinko is a large warehouse, right, where they house all of our products. It's our commodities department that get changed into these different products. Now, for instance, chicken, right, whole chicken with the bone in skin on. Then it gets shipped to one of the manufacturers as like Tyson. So we serve Tyson chicken here in the district. I don't know if you knew that, but we serve Tyson chicken. The chicken goes to Tyson, it gets processed into chicken patties, both breaded and unbreaded, chicken nuggets, both breaded and unbreaded. So even if we go to another co-op, and I'm willing to explore that, absolutely. There is another co-op that's out there that I can explore. And thank you for that direction. However, I do know that a lot of the same type of commodities that we get are going to go to those different manufacturers, whether we are with Pinko or another co-op, because those commodities have to be converted into a product, an end product. And that's what we purchase from Pinko or any other vendor that would sell commodity processed items. There's also a lot of items that are not commodity processed, such as the muffins and the crumb cakes and things of that. That's a non-commodity item. So there's no commodities that goes towards that. So basically, when we receive those missing items, they can go out to the same type of manufacturers, Tyson, for our beef, Don Lee, JTM, for the beef, for the cheese, Land O'Lakes. So these commodities go to these well-known processors and get turned into the end products that we serve in our district.
And some of these same processors, they do have, if you were to go to, I don't know, a supermarket, and look at the manufacturer, they do have the products outside commodities where they could spice up the salt or the sodium, the sodium spices. And they will taste a lot different, but at the end it is, the majority are the same manufacturers that we are using.
Mhm.
Any other comments, concerns? Maybe you want me to bring out next time, any other items of interest that you would like me to explore?
Anybody?
Just like Matthew said about, all these state regulations, it's kind of hard to please every student.
Yes, yes. Yes, sir. It very much is hard to, to please all the students. I also too have two students that go here in the district, one to Alicante and the other one to Lamont. And they have their favorite items that they love, and then one that loves Pasole, the other one doesn't. So, it's really a challenge to please the taste buds of students. But, Pinko knows that. One thing I didn't get a chance to mention that's happened in times past, and I hope after this pandemic is all over with, that we'll be able to have some of our students go to a Pinko food show. Because every year in December, they have a show, and those students that are able to get on a bus and go down there, are able to go down there, sample the food before it actually comes out and goes into our buying guide. And they're able to sample that food, and then it's based on a scale of how much the students liked it, based on taste, based on appearance, and all of those things. And then if it's really popular in that particular item, it's brought in into the co-op. So that's one thing that I would love in the future to have our students be a part of.
So real quick, the pizza that was in the box here, what is that served with? So I'm assuming that's a lunch item?
That's a lunch item. Is that the one, that's the one that had two, right? Okay, so you guys have, so you get the full, but it's two that come into a package.
Okay.
And then it would be with a vegetable and a fruit and the milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was pretty tasty.
Pretty tasty.
Yeah, it was tasty.
Now, did you guys taste any difference between that pizza and say, like, I don't want to say Pizza Hut, they have the crust, but any other type of pizza? Because that pizza is whole grain, low fat mozzarella, and it's pretty tasty.
But yeah. Mhm.
It's pretty tasty. So
Taste to it. Yeah.
The biscuit, I didn't like the biscuit. But compared to, the bread, I'm sure the bread are probably like the same, right? Compared to pizza is delicious.
the biscuit, it's a whole grain biscuit. So that type of bread item, you have to acquire the taste for it. We've been serving that to the students for the past 5 years. They've been on this type of meal pattern. So the taste buds have gotten adjusted to this new meal pattern. But one thing the state did realize is that the sodium restrictions that they had were way too strict. So they actually had to scale back on saying how much sodium we could actually put in food, or how much is contained in the food from the manufacturers, because they realized that if you have the sodium go down too low too fast, the kids aren't just going to eat. They're not going to eat it at all.
Usually prepackaged foods, that we buy in the grocery store, the sodium is real.
Yes.
This is something that.
This is low sodium. I mean, that's one of the nutrients.
That will be full, just because it's packaged, it's not.
Exactly. Don't be fooled. I need to repeat that.
No, really.
Yeah.
And anything that's
Yes.
dinner, if you look at the sodium.
Yes.
So I'm, that's one of
Yes.
the.
I mean, yes, you're absolutely correct.
package, but that before it's not the same.
Yes, when it comes to school food services, when we offer prepackaged food, it's healthy. It's healthy the same way it is if they're eating outside of a package. These items have to be whole grain, they have to be low fat, they have to be reduced sugar, they have to have the right sodium content in it. I mean, there's a lot riding on every product that we serve. And the manufacturers
So
know
are you
this.
able to put this like on social media so the person see, you know, your presentation is something that, you know,
I
we should be able to do so the parents can say, oh, okay, and if you have any questions, call, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
Dr. G, I don't know. I mean, to answer some questions, because they're not gonna call you, they're gonna complain on social media. But, you know, I mean, at least they know what the guidelines are.
Right.
Are we able to do something like that? Maybe we can do that,
Okay,
put it out there, right?
absolutely. I think
Put it out
that's,
there, and that way their questions, and if there's been answers how you.
yes, absolutely. Knowledge is power, and, you know, like you said, it's just probably what they don't know or they don't understand. So I can definitely post that, the meal pattern on there for breakfast, for lunch, or just really give my presentation perhaps, because I don't want to send mixed messages, because like I said, there's meal waivers in place at this time. So, you know, if we're missing a vegetable or we're missing a fruit, I don't want anyone to say, oh, hey, they didn't serve that day, or they didn't serve that this day. It's because we have meal waivers in place.
See, but I didn't know that, we didn't know that, so you
Yeah.
can help.
Yes.
You know, so, yeah, you know.
Yeah, and those are items, yeah, that I contained in my reports, but it's definitely something that everyone needs to be aware of, so maybe they can be a little bit more understanding to the hard work that we do here by feeding our children and having us, you know, having to apply these guidelines
Well,
to
I
everything.
just more understand it.
Thank you,
But if you don't know anything.
absolutely,
you don't know.
Yes.
You know, that's what-
yes, absolutely,
okay.
thank you,
That one. We need to know,
okay.
you know. Yeah, but you can put in the menu.
Just-
What will we call it?
Or just put it out there.
You're talking about educating parents, that's.
But actually kids like this and other. You know, like, they don't have a good taste, but,
Yeah.
we also do, every year, we do surveys to the students, we take them to a classroom, and we make a list, and then they check out what they like. So that's how we base also the menu, how we, watching and, but, you know, she takes the input, and then.
And then to add to that, we have our production records that we look at, and that gives us a really good look at what the kids like and what they don't like. When we bring in a new product, and I like to do some branding every now and then, because let's face it, kids watch TV on social media, they know brands. They know the cereal brands and all of that. So when there's something that's out there that's new, that meets our regulations, I want to read it, I'm excited about it. And then,
Yeah.
and,
You just put stuff. Yeah, you notice that, you know, we have the school site allow us.
Yeah.
The way, right? Is that
Yes.
something that you guys communicate?
yes, absolutely, like I said,
The same day that we go there to become. You know, I get all the food and then they.
Oh, no, right, yeah.
So, always like a high. I don't like, you know, right away.
Yeah, you know. Come on, great.
I mean, yes,
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
that is-
I mean, at times past, we've done both these groups, and we, you know, given them samples of like what I serve. I mean, as it comes out, and then we get to see if they like it and things like that. So we've got feedback from there. Like Maria mentioned, we've got feedback from the surveys, which I kind of completely all about that we've done. But we've also done surveys, and we've actually done them during the time when the has the career day, or they have something going on, and you know, I have our staff out there. We have our little table set
So,
up.
yeah,
And
exactly.
building our program, and we're also asking them, you know, what is it they like, what's their favorites and things like that. So we want to know what our customers want. So,
I have a quick question. Like in one of these, we got them nice and warm, but I know that right now we're giving them the lunch and tomorrow's breakfast.
yes,
How, it's obviously cold because,
yes, yes. As I stated in the presentation, the breakfast is either frozen or shelf stable because it is for the next day.
so they're not getting these warm, like the biscuits and stuff right now.
Oh, no, we can't because they're getting the lunch prepared for that day. And then that breakfast that we're giving them is for the next day.
So can you give me 2 or 3 examples of a breakfast that you are serving right now? That meets those,
You have in your tray with a sausage biscuit, pancake sausage on a stick.
so you could send those to for breakfast.
Yes,
right now.
that is a breakfast item.
Okay, but right now that you're packing it, is what I'm saying.
When we pack it, we're packing it frozen, and we keep the items cold. They need to be kept cold in our transport bag, such as something like that, or an ice chest, and we take it, we deliver it to the sites, and then they serve it. So.
Like inside, our staff can give directions.
Oh, that's what I'm getting at.
That was next thing.
Yeah.
So they do prepare frozen items, let's say that with the sausage, it's like the pancake. So they get that frozen, but you guys have instructions on how you're supposed to warm it up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's it.
That was one of the requirements that since we started this graphic on the curbside, that we put those instructions into bags for safety reasons and things like that. Just the same way you go to the store and pick up a few frozen items and you have them in your bag and they're in your car till you get home or whatever. So it is very safe for us to do so as we're serving them. Frozen or shelf stable. And shelf stable meaning cereal bars, graham crackers, that sort of thing. So we want to give them a good variety. I think it's variety. I love variety. I can't say anything boring. So if I can give them some different items, I know they like it. I know they'll enjoy. And that's what we try to do here.
These items are pancake on a stick.
Yes.
They'll be pre-cooked in case students do not have microwaves. They can either after they thaw out or they have to go a certain cooking process.
The pancake sausage on the stick, we cook that in the oven today. So the wrapping on that is ovenable, but they do not have a microwave. So the wrap on it is ovenable wrap.
Okay.
Or microwave. That's what much.
Dolores, on the 35 school district, is Kern High included in that?
Kern High School District is part of another class they were, and
It makes more sense.
Compared to the foods that they were giving away.
and high school has different meal pattern requirements. They require more calories, so they get more.
Only because they were also giving out the foods to whoever of all ages. The high school. You know,
Oh, in the summer, yes, we were too, in the summer.
Yeah, you were, but I'm saying,
Yes.
and I noticed that the foods were different.
Yes.
Not only because I was, you know, like my granddaughter.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And so the foods, and that's what I was asking, you know, and I think that's probably a lot of people, you know, they would say, yeah, the high schools are different. So it's a different co-op.
Yeah, it would be a different co-op, although we have one of our largest school districts that are part of the Pingo co-op, and that's Bakersfield City School District. They are part of the Pingo co-op as well, so.
So I think that's where a lot of them are probably like comparing. You
Yeah,
know, because the high schools were giving, you know, were giving about school.
right,
So that's where you're looking to see some of the difference.
the difference,
So it
yeah,
is from different.
yeah,
Different. Okay.
different, yes. Not every school district would, but there's 35 that are part of the co-op.
Here in Kern County.
Yes, Kern County, and a little bit outside of Kern County too, because we have, I don't know, Wilsona and Alisal. Those don't sound like Kern County, so I think they're out of Kern County, so yes.
Alice, ¿cuáles de Salinas?
Let me get another question. I said, why, are they serving the other week now? We've been asked to wait. It was different. Five different times.
Yes.
Thank you. We really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank you.
this. Very informative. Thank you. Policy review and development. 12.1, approve the first reading and adopt the board policies, administrative regulations, exhibits, board bylaws.
Commissioner, I remember the first reading that we, what policy was presented.
Board members, do we have any comments, questions, or concerns?
And Madam President,
Do I have a motion?
so move, Madam President, to approve item 12.1.
I have a motion by member Tondo to approve 12.1. Do I have a second? I second by member Lewis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on to 13.0, items removed from consent calendar. None were removed. Moving on to 14, reports and communication, board member reports. Mr. Lopez, Mr. Garay, Mr. Atondo,
And none to report tonight.
Ms. Velasquez. And as for myself, nothing to report other than, again, gratitude for your flexibility and the hard work into this distance learning. Moving on to 14.2, superintendent report.
Yes, I'm saying I'd like to apologize for my lack of oversight on the strategic plan. We were supposed to have to understand, so that being said, we thought that some direction from the board was to would like to see in the strategic, as we will need to reschedule. Some of the options could be that you hear reports from each of the departments about them and distance learning. The other could be possibly a more detailed description as far as having CFW come and just give us an overview of all the different projects, because we have several projects going on right now, as you can tell, as you heard tonight, I should say. So, and just being caught up as far as where we're at in each one and what we can anticipate that our next steps can be. So those are just a couple suggestions that I have. If you would like to suggest other, we can kind of rank those and set a date to have.
Board members, any other ideas? So we're talking, the options that Dr. Guerrero was giving us is distance learning, them having like the department heads come like they've done in the past. This time it will be virtually to let us know how they're doing with the distance learning. And the second option was the CFW.
CFW having them kind of present, you can't just give us on everything.
So we know where we're at with the school changes and the construction. Or we can do both, just break it up into 2 different sessions or full.
Yeah, I think
session
let's do both.
to both.
Break it up. We can do,
Are you guys available on a particular day, like maybe from 8 to 12, or something, chunk it up and then have an 8 to 12 session? Or and or we can do it in the evening, how you guys-
I'm flexible
Okay, anytime.
anytime. Jesse,
Any particular date that you want us to avoid?
Jesse. Yeah, it's from 8 to 12 in the morning.
For now.
Oh.
So, I should speak to my HR person tomorrow, tomorrow,
Okay,
but as of now, I'm clear to the night. Things can change any minute.
so if you could please let
Right.
Dr. Guerrero and myself know
Soon as I find out. I'll get back to you. So, what data?
the night, up to the night
up to the night.
he's available.
So
No,
we-
no, I'm saying, for what we haven't decided.
We haven't decided the date. That's why he's asking if you have like a day of the week preference, or if you have a day that you cannot meet for certain, or
The Tuesday, Wednesday would be better for me.
is it Tuesday, Wednesday?
Wednesday. So maybe the 8th, is that too soon?
We have a board meeting on the 8th, actually.
Oh, okay.
Late December.
Or
A Tuesday.
What's it to go?
you're up to September 9th, correct?
We can do it.
Mhm.
Because we need some time for the departments to come
We need to get the things together.
going.
You will let us know.
After the, next week,
Yeah, after the,
So we have dates for 8:40, effective, so for the following week would be Tuesday, the 15th, or just a Wednesday, so the 16th.
okay, so I'll have more tomorrow for you guys. I hope you by tomorrow. Because I there's some scripts going on with my, with another department and meeting my office, so we have to hear some.
Okay.
I'll figure some.
Okay, so you'll let us know, and if everybody else is okay, then we'll be contingent onto Mr. Lopez's situation.
Maybe, yes.
You don't know yet?
Maybe it's that, so, no. Be the teacher for my two nephews. Because they both parents work, and so I'll be there talking about,
So how about we do this, how about if we, Dr. Guerrero, if everybody kind of gives us how their month of September kind of will look like, what days would be okay in September? And if you
yeah,
could,
like next week, I'll be available Monday, Tuesday, but not Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Additionally, they need time.
we had to schedule two. Do you think the CFW one would be,
I can contact them to see what their schedule's like, so I can shoot for a Tuesday, Wednesday.
and I kind of want more of Gary's input on that one, on the CFW, maybe at the beginning, Gary, like a little bit more, you know, you gave us a grade right there, but I kind of break it down a little bit further if possible.
Yeah, break down the numbers for
Breakdown, how do I do it? So I understood what you're doing, but I want to know we're looking at towards the end of where we're going to be releasing the money that's going to cost us. Does that make sense?
You mean how much we're gonna pay out towards state funds
Correct.
for the project?
Mm-hmm.
Besides our LCAP funds, the 21st century should all be encompassed inside of the project and funded by the state.
Funded by the state.
Yeah, since we're in hardship, normally, you would, pay a portion of the funds, and the state pays the other half, but since we're in hardship, the state pays our portion. As long as we're, obviously keep things within budget, there's a set amount that they give us and we have to make decisions within that. If we decide to, go outside of that or do things a little differently than what the budget allows, we would have to fund that ourselves, but otherwise, specifically, it should be all encompassed.
So you had to contact CFW, and everybody needs to kind of see how their schedules are. And email Dr. Guerrero and myself. That way we can be, put it together.
Yeah, and I'll let you know what days, what you think. I think my granddaughter, I think I'll see them. But the other two, I travel to take as well.
Okay.
But I'll let you know.
Okay, sounds great. Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be to be determined. Dr. Guerrero?
Sounds good. The next up, and we can discuss is, we have a learning continuity plan that needs to be adopted. On the 8th, you'll get a presentation and then there'll be a plan on how we utilize some of the COVID funding that we're getting. And then on September 22nd, we have a special board meeting to approve that plan. Are you guys all available on the 22nd?
I am.
It could be an afternoon meeting if you like, or it could be a morning meeting.
You're available. Yeah, how about in the evening? No? Is there another day that works better for you?
22nd, I won't be here.
Oh, okay.
Um,
23rd.
yeah, 23rd I'll be in town.
Oh, there's a deadline?
I believe it's right. September 3rd. So we could even do it on 29th.
I'll be here on 23rd. The 23rd.
On 23rd.
Yeah. I won't be here from the 17th through the 22nd.
We do it on the 23rd.
In the afternoon, correct?
Evening? Or what? Oh, yeah, evening.
We could do early
O en la mañana.
in la mañana?
Doesn't matter. Morning or evening.
Or are we only gonna approve that, the
Yeah,
concept?
that's all we can do.
Oh,
Yes.
So morning?
I'm okay, no.
we can,
Well, it depends with you.
we can do 6, 7.
I tampoco.
No, because if you get here at 6, then you can get here by 5.
See? You're not a morning person.
We'll do lunch.
Let's do lunch.
We do lunch.
Mhm. Let's do lunch. If you're available.
I'll come available.
Same. So on the 23rd, that's gonna depend on the availability of everyone.
I'm sure we'll be able.
Oh, okay.
Well, you guys can.
We need you at the meeting.
Or this afternoon. So lunch.
Like after what time are you available?
I'm usually off. About 5:30.
Mm.
It's an all day thing, I say.
Mhm.
And it's, I committed myself, so.
Okay. So have you-
Yeah, evenings I can too.
this was the evening. Okay, that's fine, 5:30.
It's just hard. You know,
I hear you.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be regular board meetings.
Okay.
It's one of those that comes because we had different things before.
And the last topic is, as per my contract, I'm supposed to update the board every so often on the days that I report. And so that's my time sheet. Just FYI.
Thank you. Moving on to 14.3, Director 2, Instructional Services.
Good evening. Tonight I'm gonna present to you, distance learning. They have attendance, participation, and engagement. Are part of distance learning, but they are different. So Lamont School District is following distance learning. As it is defined by Ed Code, Section 43,500. And following the guidance of SB 98, signing to law by Governor Newsom in June 29, 2020. So everybody here is distance learning. What is distance learning, right? So as defined for Ed Code, distance learning means instruction in which the pupil and instructor are in different locations and pupils are under the general supervision of a certificated employee of the local educational agency. And then the Ed Code gives us examples of what are
some examples of distance learning. So interaction, instructions, and check-ins between teachers and pupils through the use of a computer or other communications technology, video or audio instruction, in which the primary mode of communication between the pupil and certificated employee is online interaction. Instructional television, video, telecourses, or other instruction that relies on computer or communications technology. The use of print, video, and audio materials incorporating assignments are the subject of written or oral feedback. And Code Section 43.503 requires that distance learning include daily live interaction. So what is daily live interaction, or what is live interaction? Daily live interaction is two-way communication between a certified employee and student. Each instructional day at the actual time of occurrence. Daily live interaction is required for every student with both a certificated employee and their student peers. In particular, English learners and students with special needs benefit from daily oral language development opportunities. So this is one of the questions given by the CDE. Is the requirement for daily live interaction met if the interaction is only between an individual student and a teacher? No. All students are required to receive daily live interaction with both a certificated employee and their peers for the purpose of instruction, progress monitoring, and school connectedness. Teachers may meet individually with students, but this alone does not meet the requirements for daily live interaction. The minimum standards should be the same for all students, regardless of which school or program the student participates in within the LEA. Every effort should be taken to determine the amount of interaction for students to progress academically and remain engaged in learning and connected to the school community. So, Ed Code 43.504D1 states that a pupil who does not participate in distance learning on a school day shall be documented as absent. Ed Code Section 43.503 require that distance learning include daily live interaction. Daily live interaction is a two-way communication between a certificated employee and student each instructional day at the actual time of occurrence. So attendance, participation, and engagement. Attendance, the act of recording and reporting pupils who are present in class, online, or in person, or a combination of the two. So the combination of the two is the hybrid model. In person, if the student would be here, but we are doing the online. And then participation is the level of active engagement that the students are having. And engagement, the action taken by the LEA side or teachers to ensure that all students and their families are part of the educational community. What is LEA? LEA is a district, school district, local educational agency. So as you know, prior to our Ed Code, which says that kindergarten students have to have 200 minutes of instructional time. Grades 1 to 3, 280. Grades 4 through 8, 300, and high school 360. Under SB 98, we went into the minimal instructional minutes, which changed from kindergarten from 200 to 180, from 280 for first through third grade to 230, and then 4 through 8 grades from 300 to 240. So our distance learning has to maintain those minutes. Instructional minutes can be synchronous and asynchronous. So synchronous is the minutes can include students working on individual projects. I'm sorry, asynchronous. I'm reading asynchronous. Asynchronous minutes can include students working on individual projects or assignments offline. Synchronous learning can include social and emotional learning activities that would be essential during this time. So the synchronous time is that live interaction. So those, the minimal required amount of minutes by SB 98, they have to meet these two. It's a combination of the two, of the synchronous and the asynchronous time. So the Lamont School District process for attendance and following ECHO. In the morning, there's a role check during synchronous lesson, live interaction. Teacher takes attendance on paper, students present to live interaction are marked as pink. Students absent to live interaction are marked as C. Those are the two new levels that Aries gave us. So this is how it looks. That's B, and that's the Z. So if the student is here, the mark B, they're not here, the mark Z. And in Aries, if there's Z, we have to follow the same excuse and excuse requirements as before. So the same requirements that the state has. Now, if the excuse is because they don't have the computer is not working, then it has to be marked on the Aries on the notes that it pertains to distance learning, and this computer is not working, or there's a problem. With that excuse, that is excuse. Yeah, so it would not be nonsense, but it's an excuse. Thank you.
It works off light, and I think it's clear from. It will go over here, but it didn't broadcast on.
See, that's live.
Our absence is excused.
Okay, so as a district, we have to make an effort to re-engage the students. Actually, we have to be part of the learning continuity. So we have to engage the students. Okay. So, and those are going to be the C students, right? The ones that are not here. So the process, each school side already identified the A's who are assigned to specific classroom and teachers to contact the family of the student and find out why are they not in distance learning class. Okay. The purpose is to engage the student to live. The A provides support to re-engage the student to live interaction, identifies the reason for non-engagement during the live interaction. So what is it? Is that the device not working, a lack of a device, no internet access, lack of an adult at home? Is it social emotional? Is it something else? So the aid identifies which one of these is it. And then the ACE is gonna, if it's a lack of device or the device is not working, it's gonna let the site administration know so that way they can have the parent come to pick up a device. If it's a lack of internet, they let the district know right away. The district takes a hotspot to the school site, the parent comes to pick it up, and they can actually, they have aids that connect them for the parents. So when the parent leaves, they leave with a Chromebook that is connected to that device. If it's social emotional, they let the PBIS team know so they can provide social emotional support.
How about the laptop of their own?
That's why I know Dr. Guerrero mentioned that some of the students are babysitter. Like we had already cases where the babysitter doesn't want to do the distance learning because they may even have so many kids, you know. So the site administration has talked to them to let them know that it is a requirement, and or even talk to the parent too. Talk to the parent too, so the parent can talk to the babysitter. And it is a requirement to attend school. It's a legal requirement of the student, so they have to attend the live interaction and the asynchronous too. But they have to attend that live interaction, and if they don't attend it, they can become truant, and then they're going to have to continue the attendance process as if we were on the site. So they have to be let know that this time is not as it was when we went into closure the first time. This time the state became really strict on the guidelines for distance learning. So we have to know that too. And the school side administration, they let parents know that. The parents, and some of them also even talk to the babysitters to let them know that.
What time are they locked?
We have the schedule.
All.
Yes.
8:30?
Yes. So the results meet the needs of the student, bring engagement of some students to live interaction, identification of student need, and match students to the school service. So after role play, during synchronous lesson, live interaction, teacher takes attendance on papers the second time. Students added to the live interaction are marked as P. A student absent again to live interaction is marked as C. So the teacher takes roll 2 times. The one in the morning, and then the aides do their engagement of the kids. They take roll again. So if the student is present to the live interaction, even just for the second portion of the class, they are marked present. Okay. So that is the whole goal of the engagement, that the student is present on that time during the school day.
And what time is the after?
We have 2, so it goes, they do ELD, ELA, not or ELA. Yeah, so it goes all the way to 12:30. So for any 3. So anytime
What
that
time is the second roll call?
so like around 12, yeah. So they give the student an opportunity to re-engage. So throughout the first roll day to the second, students can be engaging throughout that time. So in summary, the first call is in the morning for the first interaction, and the second one after.
So they can just log in at 8:30, be there for about 5-10 minutes, and then that's it.
No,
You'll know.
yeah, they'll keep.
You know, you have students that I already did.
Yeah, when they log in, it's like here, you see the faces on the screen.
So the teacher takes note of
Yes.
this student, you know. He's been gone for a while,
Yes.
how to rest and break.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, more like,
Yeah.
like, well, right, it could be, if there's no supervision.
The state is requiring us to do the 2 attendance, No?
Part of the process is that we need to re-engage students back into the line of action. So, and that's what we're doing, that's the instruction, is to first time around with roll call, if she's not there, then that's communicated to instruction grade that's inside of the class, and they go, instruction grade then goes back and tries to get them engaged. And as you can see, there's a variety of reasons possibly that we're not engaging, so then depending on that, then we get directed to the programs.
So the goal is to have all the class engaged.
Yeah.
So we can reach that point when we have all the class engaged.
How long does it take a teacher to take virtually?
Not long, because they're really just saying the names of the kids.
And so, luego, trabajan todos los días, y luego, todos los días, entonces, se vuelve la maestra. Entonces, good morning. Good morning, Jesse. Entonces, acá, like, so, oh, buenos días. Eso que, papás, vamos a continuar, estamos haciendo esto. So, we have 10 minutes. 30 minutes, we're going to plug it in. This is a wrap.
So, LEAs will be required to maintain student attendance records for audit purposes and maintain activity of instruction during this time. Do you have any questions about this attendance?
Members, any questions?
And I wouldn't mind popping into one of the classrooms.
Mhm.
We can do that virtually.
Yeah.
That's how the principals are monitoring and vice principals. They're invited into a classroom and they can talk from the desk to all the different classrooms.
If there's any way we can visit class, that'd be nice.
We can visit all four.
School sites.
We've had already 4 trainings for them, so now we are more proficient. Not proficient completely, but more proficient. Yeah. So when teachers log into Canvas, they see their dashboard. So their dashboard looks like that. It looks different for each one, but most of the apps are the same. So you'll see the Canvas app is right on the bottom, and then right next to it is the Canvas support. So Antonio actually has already put together a site for Canvas support. So every time we have a PD, professional development with the county, every PD is being recorded. So because he goes like by step to build, so we can build something into Canvas. So the recordings are already placed in that place, and I'll show it to you at the end. Now the student dashboard has less apps, and it also may look different by grade level and by site, but most of the apps are the same. The student Chromebook, when they open it up and they sign up, the apps are right there. So Canvas would be number 1. So when they see Canvas, it looks like this. So this page comes from the Kern County Superintendent of Schools. So what the Kern County, what KCSOS did is they developed 9 weeks of lessons for English language arts, for mathematics, for social studies, for science. For each subject, they developed 9 weeks of lessons already. So if the student logs into Canvas and goes here, they go into wherever it says weekly lessons. So these are the 4 choices they have, okay? So we're gonna click, or we're gonna go into weekly lessons. So weekly lessons look like this. So this is 1 week, week 9. So it has the week overview, and then it has 9.1, because it's week 9. And then it has book 1, the Tell Peter Rabbit, and then it has the other activities, okay? So this would be the lesson the teacher is gonna follow live with the students. Canvas already, and actually the KCSOS purchased Canvas so they can integrate with they purchase Zoom so they can integrate with Canvas. So that way, whenever there's a problem with Zoom out there, to protect the students. So that way there's no interruptions or anybody coming in and out. So it'll be in Canvas through the Canvas. The teacher is doing live interaction with the students. The teacher is presenting this to the students, okay? So we're gonna go into one of them just so you see how it looks for the kids. So book 1. So book 1, oh, okay. There. So book 1 starts with the story of Peter Rabbit, and then you can see that it has the objectives up here. Just like if they were in the class setting an event of a story, I can identify words that rhyme and produce a word that rhymes with other words. So the teacher can even tell the students, okay, everybody, we're gonna repeat the objective, and everybody says the objective. So it's very Common Core, and it's very like the lessons that happen in the classroom. Okay, so then they listen to the story. We're not gonna listen to it much. Then we'll just go quickly. And then they go into the second part of the lesson. And then it has choice 1, 2, and 3. So the teacher can choose one of the choices, right? I chose 2 just for the presentation. Okay. So we're going to this section has 3 activities that they're going to be doing together with the whole class. So summarize an academic presentation. And then so they're going to be learning how to summarize, okay? So then they present, the teacher clicks on play. It has a play here, and then it goes into the summary. And then at the end, the kids summarize their story. And it's super easy. They just have to click on the speaker right here, and they can actually speak to it because the Chromebooks have speaker, and it records themselves. And then they just press stop. So now the teacher would have all the recordings for all the kids in the classroom who are really at home. So the teacher would have the recordings of everybody. So they made it really kid friendly. So it's just with a click of a button, they can record themselves. And all this is already in the lesson. It's already something that KCSO has already put there for it. Kindergarten. Yeah. And I put kindergarten because if you see kindergarten, pretty much any grade level can do it. Yeah. So let's say they already did the summarize. So now they go into a hunting we will go, and then it has a song. So the teacher would click here, and then it plays the song. So they will be singing a song at home. And then the last one is actually a worksheet that they can do all together. You know, so some of the lessons or something additional that the teachers can integrate is could make this into a Google Doc so the kid can actually be able to type if they have to type something. But because they really just have to rhyme words with pots, what rhymes with pots, box, and the kid has to say another word that rhymes with that. So it really does kind of like core language development.
So we're expecting kindergartners to type the word that goes there?
No, it's oral.
Oh, okay,
I
oral.
said, in case a teacher would want something like that, or when the kids get to the
No.
level where they're already doing CBC work, they could type out something like that and create a Google Doc. So at the end, the teacher goes back again and reviews the learning objectives that they learned in the lesson. So this is what lab instruction looks like, or synchronous instruction with a certificated employee and peers. So it's really creating the classroom environment through the computer distance learning.
So what would a teacher do if they, the kids log on and there's let's say one student, like, maybe just real shy, and he's absolutely withdrawn, and you're not gonna get anything out of him. At that point, is the teacher able to identify that student, maybe, work with him or her? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they can see when you log into Zoom, or you can actually even see the picture, the faces. Of
Yeah.
the students. So the teacher will be able to see if the student is not participating, and probably, encourage the kids to participate. And with kindergarten, I know that happens a lot at the beginning. You almost just give them the time and come on, let's keep on, let's see, come on, we want to hear your voice. And just try to encourage everybody to participate. Yeah.
Well, I just want to make sure, even at any other grade,
Yeah.
if there's, there might be a student that absolutely does not understand.
Yeah.
At that point, it would probably be the teacher to watch the program, how can I help you, or whatever, or send somebody, but how do you?
We didn't give you a copy of the schedule, but actually the schedule have a time for after the live instruction, and then they do the asynchronous instruction. Right after that, they have small group instruction. So all those students, when the teacher sees that student is really quiet, or the student who's not engaging on the independent practice, they can always get them together, even if it's 2, 3, or 4, so they can bring engage the kids part of the lesson again. Yeah. So we included a section for that, specifically for that.
Yeah, we don't want, these students to get lost.
Yes.
Definitely, we just get lost.
That is included. For the upper grades, I'm just gonna go faster, but that way at least you see that the upper grades, it has the same format. Okay, so I just kind of like cover the teachers, and these are already from our district. These are samples from our district. So they click on weekly lessons, and it looks exactly the same. The only thing is that it has more activities. Okay. So this is, for example, Esperanza Rising, and it has videos for someone bringing the story in charts. It also has the actual text on PDF, so the students can click there and read the actual text. And then it has designated language support too, okay?
Is there any way we can actually give the students the book? Because there's nothing like, I love reading the book that you could turn the pages versus reading here. Is there anything we can do to help give them something, or the actual books, or?
One of the things that we really restricted, we can't have a contract. So that becomes difficult when you can't have a book. Under the current guidelines that we're doing, for example, even our testing, the ELD testing that we have to do at the beginning, they shut that down. Because we had a shield and there was really not much. We get a distance and they said no, you can't have interaction, close interaction. So testing is very difficult. At this point, down the road, if the restrictions might ease up and that we can't have them do that.
I hope we can give them the book sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For now, at least they provide a link for PDF.
Yeah.
And then it goes into like the ELD lessons, so it already has embedded videos. So it goes like really into detail for English language track. And then it also has a worksheet they can use together. There's also like, just so you can see how the science looks like. So if they look at going to one of the manuals, and they have all these areas that they're gonna explore. So engage in that. Actually, the upper grade, they can type up a thing, a learning content, and the teacher can get a rubric, and it actually goes straight to their grades or wherever they are compiling all the student work.
So whatever they're typing in, that's just between, them and the teacher.
Yes.
Okay, they don't have other email. Okay.
And this one, for example, is just an example, so you see how it looks like when the students do work, students haven't used it, but it has the grade, percentage on time, last page view, page views, and participations. So it's telling the teacher exactly what kids are completing the work. And then this one is a weekly and day by day, the participation of the student. This is just like a one student. And this is also one student, and it's telling the teacher per assignment. How is the student doing per assignment? And last is the campus report for any new staff that Antonio developed. So if you click here, it has step-by-step instructions on how to add those lessons into their canvas, or if it has all the trainings that we have.
No.
No, very, very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
.4, Director to Administrative Services. Thank you. 15.0, sorry, correspondence. 15.1, school site board updates.
They're in the packet. From all schools.
Board members, any comments, questions, or concerns?
Madam President.
No questions.
15.2, department board updates. Board members, any comments, questions, or concerns?
No questions, Madam President.
We will be going into 16.0 closed session at 8:45. We'll have a 5-minute recess. Wait, Corey, back to you. 5-minute recess.
Thinking about, like I said, with the recalling fees and stuff like that. You know, those recalling fees, all the driving back and forth. And I don't know if you sit and learn about that word. That'll cause.
They will. And I went to the doctor and I checked it and they're like, I have another guy.
I know. Me too, yeah.
It wasn't bad.
No, thank you. I just took care of it.
I bet you.
It's good.
Oh, yeah, let me toss this out.
No, this is for,
Feel like when you go
The resolution
traveling on a
is
bus
approved
and
and
you
then
travel,
last
and by the time you get to your destination,
sorry, last month.
your feet are swollen. Have you know, when you travel and stuff like that? I bet.
It's only one of them.
Number 19.
It's not both.
Sorry.
It's only this one here. So they did X-ray. That's when they had a leak. So they were finding was like, blood clot. We're waiting for me at the hospital. Yeah, remember when I had a leak?
Yeah.
And then this is the minutes for the,
So then they went, and then my sister was waiting for the doctor, and they ran me to the hospital, and they
Praise God for that.
I know, because my feet were so. Uh-huh. So then they did more tests, more bad, training, training. And I said, why am I doing a clean up more? Don't put salad dressing on the I don't put any fits.
You're like, Frank
So
like
that's where I
that.
lost so much weight.
We're not gonna use it.
They said, no, everything is grilled, chicken, veggie.
Yeah, because you guys were out a lot, especially when you're traveling all the time, right?
Uh-huh, so now I eat a lot of salad.
You'll be sending us off
what time did you want to close that?
8:45.
And I have to say that today,
So, yeah.
yeah, I did today, so yeah.
Yeah, but I like,
I mean,
I just got a couple of these, or you want me to?
Yes, please. And then this is resolution for sufficiency of materials. And then this is the appointing minutes for July 28th.
I feel like, because I take.
All right.
Good night,
Take care.
thank you.
I take cholesterol, I have to. It's like, yeah, just because it just, automatically, it doesn't matter.
I think Mike